Texas A&M, I don't know how you feel about them, but I feel like if everything goes right, Bobby Petrino works out, and this team plays up to the level of talent that they have, I think they can win the SEC West. Now, am I crazy? Am I tripping? Or can you see that being the upside for Texas A&M this year?
In in my personal projections, when I measure like a team's absolute floor and absolute ceiling, that could be like a total insane pick. But it's like with TCU last year, or with the history of college football, you have to take that into consideration. So I have like a whole, of course, all these different things dedicated, and I think yeah, I have it open. Yeah, Texas A&M, I have getting like they could go to the college football playoff at their best, but that is way out there, way, way out there. And once they reach the national title or the playoff, if they're that good, then of course they can reach the national title because the sheer amount of talent they have. But that's their ceiling if everything goes right. And I think that a more realistic ceiling or maybe a safer ceiling to go off of would probably be 10-3 or 11-2, winning your New Year's Six bowl. They don't face Georgia from the crossover, so that's good. But when you still have LSU, Auburn, they have a non-conference road game at Miami, and Arkansas, for example, at the neutral site, it's it's tough. It's very tough. And I think my personal opinion about A&M is Bobby Petrino. The game of college football has passed him by. Jimbo Fisher is outdated as a head coach. He's stubborn. He thinks that he can buy a recruiting class into saving his job. And ultimately, this isn't me like, it's not that I hate Jimbo Fisher. It's just from what I see, this team has been rated highly and praised time and time and time again. And what have they done? Nothing. Even when they beat Alabama, they bombed later in the year. They can't. That's coaching. When you have that sheer amount of talent, like their talent roster, fourth best in the country. That was last year. It could be third this year. It could have passed Ohio State's or maybe past Georgia's with how much they lost. And when you don't win at the highest level with that, that's coaching. And I don't think Bobby Petrino's up to date. I don't think Jimbo Fisher's up to date. I think even if they collaborate well, the game has evolved and continues to evolve at such a rate. I don't think they're going to have long-term success. I think if A&M wants to reach that point, you're going to have to find a way out of this contract, or you're going to have to wait it out, which is going to be excruciatingly painful. But ceiling, like you asked, if everything goes right and if I'm wrong, they have the talent to go to the playoff and potentially win it all with how well they've recruited.
You see me like I'm a fan of the underdog and I love a good comeback story. I'm looking at Jimbo Fisher and I still think he's a pretty solid head coach, although he kind of has lost a little bit of luster when it comes to his play calling. The offense hasn't been good ever since they lost Kellen Mond and they went to the New Year's Six Bowl that year. But I really believe in Bobby Petrino. It wasn't too long ago he had Lamar Jackson and he was a Heisman Trophy winner. And he has a really good track record of being able to develop and work with quarterbacks. And I don't know how much you've watched Connor Wigman, but I thought that he had a really good true freshman campaign. He was highly rated when he was coming out of high school. And Jimbo Fisher pretty much considered him to be the best quarterback coming out of that recruiting cycle, which I believe was the same cycle that Drew Aller came out, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that. And when
It
I'm looking,
was.
okay, so you got a really talented quarterback in Connor Wigman. You got a really good offensive line. I feel like the problem with them last year was that they were really lacking depth there. And I'm looking at their schedule. Their toughest game before they really hit their conference schedule is Miami on the road, which me being a Canes fan, I think that Texas A&M is probably going to win that game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think Miami could be a top 25 team this year, but me being a Canes fan, I done got let down so many times by this program. I'm going to give it to Texas A&M. Auburn could be a little bit tricky, so could Arkansas. But I really feel like Texas A&M, with the roster they have and how good they are up front, I mean, they got one of the best defensive lines in college football. And I don't really think they get enough credit about it. It's like you have a lot of talented players on there. You got guys like Shamar Turner, Walter Nolan. There's a lot of talent that they have up front. They got a lot of NFL bodies on both sides of the football. And their wide receiving core is absolutely stacked too. And I believe with Connor Wigman at the helm, as long as he can get some competent play calling out of Bobby Petrino, and Jimbo Fisher can let Bobby Petrino do his thing, not step on his foot, I honestly feel like this could possibly be a one-loss team. And I know that sounds hard to fathom at their ceiling when you think about how much of a bloodbath the SEC is going to be. And I mean, they got one of the toughest conference schedules in the SEC. I mean, they're playing Arkansas, Bama, Tennessee on the road. You got to play South Carolina, Ole Miss. I mean, they just have some of the best teams in this conference on their schedule. But with how talented of a team they have, I really don't see how they can't find a way to at least go 11-1 throughout the regular season if they're playing at their best, because they do kind of have like a top 5 roster in terms of talent and everything. So as long as Jimbo Fisher can, let Bobby Petrino do his thing, I really feel like this could work. I really like Connor Wigman. He has a lot of similarities to Dak Prescott, in my opinion, just a little bit more athletic. I really feel like they could be 11-1, make it to the SEC championship. I don't know if they can beat Georgia. I mean, they can beat Georgia. They have a shot, but Georgia's such a juggernaut and such a well-oiled machine. It'll kind of be hard for me to see that happening. But I'm really high on Texas A&M. Like, I really believe that this is a team that could legitimately be a college football playoff team this year. And I just love seeing chaos, and we haven't really had a SEC championship game where the winner from the previous year has made it in back-to-back years consistently. In Alabama, we got concerns about how their quarterback room is going to shape out. They could change their offensive philosophy all they want to, but, at the end of the day, you still got to be able to throw the football to win the game. And when you're playing against
Yeah.
a team like A&M with how good they are up front, I mean, it's going to be a little bit of a doozy trying to win with lackluster QB play. Not saying Alabama's quarterback play is going to be garbage, but I'm just saying I got a little bit more confidence in Connor Wigman than I do any other QB on Bama's roster.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And my thing, and as a Michigan fan, I understand this in the sense of we've had the 2 highest rated offensive lines over the past few seasons. Now, they've never performed that level in the postseason. They just haven't for whatever reason. In 2021, it was because Georgia's D line was just much better. In 2022, I don't know what happened, but I think this year it's going to be rectified because I have Michigan as the #1 team in the country. But even with that, you can't win forever and ever and ever and ever unless you're the exception to the rule. You can't win even with the best offensive line, which Alabama has the talent to have, by only running the football and never passing. You can't do that. And whether it's Ty Simpson, whether it's Jalen Milroe, who's really athletic, and I think I like him and I think he's going to start, but if he can't throw the football, they might lead the country in rushing yards or close to it. And at the end of the day, when they face up against Georgia or an A&M or an LSU who have really good defensive lines, what's that going to look like? Is your run game just going to 3 or 4 yards per carry, failing a few fourth downs, can't pass the football? That'd be like pathetic, honestly. So, yeah, A&M, I agree that I do have a higher degree of faith in their passing game from a quarterback perspective. But, you know, Alabama, LSU, and then Georgia in that title game, for A&M, there's just so much that has to go right with a, in my opinion, mediocre O line. Wiegman, while he did play well last year, he still has things to prove. And the defense, as good as that D line is and as talented as they are, what's interesting about them in Florida State is they struggled so poorly against the run. So what's going to happen when they meet Alabama? I mean, they could shut down Alabama's run game, or Alabama could have like 45 minutes of TOP and just blow them out. So lots of questions for A&M, but I think you and I agree that if everything goes right, this team could shock everyone, literally.
And my last statements on this, even if everything doesn't go right, I still feel like Texas A&M is capable of being a 9-10 win team this year. You get to play Alabama at home. You can play Tennessee on the road, which is going to be a doozy for you. But I think that Tennessee, with the question marks that they have on defense and the style of offense they play, I think that Texas A&M has a chance to pull off the upset in that one if they are underdog heading into that game. But overall, I really feel like Texas A&M is being a little bit slept on. I really am rooting for Texas A&M. I would love to see Jimbo Fisher make a face turn after being viewed as a heel for the last couple of years. And we talk about heel turns, right?